Right, so we're going to be graphing a line. So that's all we're doing today. It's going to be really quick, and if you just follow my steps, it'll be easy. All right, so graphing a line, we're going to do it the way I would teach it to year 9, 10, 11 and 12. There is another way of doing it, but then you're just going to have to learn this way sometime, so let's use it now. It's much quicker as well. Okay, so we're going to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. And we do that by making x equal 0. Then we're going to find the x-intercept, and that's where the line crosses the x-axis. And we're going to do that by making y equals 0. Then we're going to plot those 2 points, and then we're going to use our ruler to join through them. Easy. All right, let's have a look at it. So to do this graph, to graph the line y equals x plus 3, first thing we do is the y-intercept. And I want you to always write this heading down, y-intercept, underline it, it's like a little heading. And you will always write this next to it. It's where x equals 0. So you'll notice it's the opposite letter to y. We take the x and make that equal 0. All right, so we take our equation, y equals x plus 3, and where the x is, we're going to put a 0. So that's all I've done there. Then I'm going to work 0 plus 3 out, and that gives me 3. So I end up with y equals 3. We'll worry about that later. Now we're going to start on the x-intercept. So another little heading, and take the opposite letter, which is y, and make that equal to 0. So we always come back to the equation that they've given us. I'm going to use that. I'm going to put 0 in for y this time. So it's going in over there. Now, we're going to solve this little equation. You know how to do this. We want to get the x by itself, so we're going to get rid of the plus 3. So over on the left-hand side we have 0. Opposite of plus 3 is minus 3. And then we're going to work out 0 minus 3. And that's done. Now, we're going to put these things on a graph. So I'm going to draw up my number plane, and all I have to do is on the x-axis I have to have a minus 3. So I'll make sure I do that. Let's just draw up across first for our start of our number plane. Now I don't need the ruler anymore, right? It can go away. I don't need it. It's just to draw these things up to start with. That's your x-axis, that's your y-axis. Arrows on the end of everything. Origin marked in the middle. Okay, so on the x-axis I need a minus 3. Now, we know with the minuses, they'll be over here somewhere. So I don't care where you put it, just put it somewhere over there. You wouldn't want to put it here because that's all the positive numbers. And this one up here is y equals 3. So somewhere on the y-axis we have to mark a 3. And the positive numbers, like positive 3, would be up here somewhere. I don't care where you put it somewhere. So we have marked the x-intercept of minus 3, and we've also marked the y-intercept of 3. Now you can get your ruler back and just go straight through those 2 points. Here we go. And there's your line. Easy. Okay, so we're going to have another go at this. Next one. Y-intercept first. We're going to make x equal 0, the opposite letter equal to 0. Copy your equation, and where we see x, we're going to put 0. Now, make sure that you remember that we have times in here, don't we? We didn't need it on the last one, but we need it here. So it's y equals 3 times x is 0 minus 2. Now, just put all that in your calculator. 3 times 0 minus 2. Calculator will give you minus 2, and that's finished. Now let's do the x-intercept. The opposite letter of x is y, so we're going to make y equal to 0. Start with your original equation. This time we're putting 0 in for y, don't forget, so it's going over here. Copy everything else. And we've got to gradually solve this equation. So we want to get the x by itself on the right-hand side. So the first thing I'm getting rid of is the minus 2. So I'm going to come over here and add 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. And now I have to get rid of my 3. The times 3. So the opposite of times 3 is divide by 3. So I'm going to come over here and do divide by 3, which we always write as fractions, remember? Now if you go to your calculator and put in 2 over 3 in your fraction key and press equals, it won't change. So it's 2/3. We leave it like that. Now the easy graph that we do. Draw up your x and y axes with straight lines. X, Y, arrowheads, origin. Okay, now let's mark on what we know. The y-intercept is -2. So here's your y. Negatives are down here somewhere. Put a -2. X-intercept on your x-axis. We want 2/3. Well, that's a positive thing, so it'll be over here somewhere. Right, 2/3. Get your ruler, pick it up, join through your 2 points. Easy. Okay, next one. Let's have a look at number 3. All right, so it doesn't matter how hard they are, they can all be done like this. Y-intercept. Get your opposite letter, make it equal to 0. Okay, so x is 0, remember. We have a little times in here we're not going to forget about. So we've got y equals 8 minus 4 times 0. Use your calculator. 8 minus 4 times 0 will give you 8. That's finished. Now we start our next little heading, x-intercept. Opposite letter is y, make it equal to 0. Where y equals 0. Okay, start with your original equation. We're putting 0 in for y, it goes in here. Now we're gradually going to solve it so we have x by itself over here. This one's a little bit trickier to solve. I'm going to get rid of the +8 first. It's not a -8. You've got to look at the sign in front of the number. So we're going to come over here. Right, 0, and do the opposite of +8, which is -8. And we're left with a -4x still there. Work this out on your calculator and you get -8. Now, we're getting rid of times -4. Be very careful with this bit. We'll be left with an x over here if we get rid of the times -4. Over here, we have -8. And we're going to divide, because that's the opposite of times. We're going to divide by -4. So instead of timesing by -4, we're going to come over here and divide by -4. Okay, if you put that into your calculator fraction key, you'll get 2. Okay, so now we start our easy graph. Draw up the cross for your number plane. Okay, x, y, origin in the middle. All right, so now we're going to put on our y-intercept of 8. Here's your y-axis. Positive 8 will be up here somewhere. Put it wherever you like. X-intercept, the x-intercept is 2. So x-axis, go to where positive 2 would be, over here somewhere, wherever you like. Get your ruler, join through. So I'm hoping by now you can see these are pretty easy. But now I've said that, we're going to find one that's a little bit different. I'll explain why this is different in a minute. Okay, so when we do this question here, I'm going to go through the same process and you'll see what happens and then I'll talk about it in a minute. So I'm going to find our y-intercept where x equals 0. Write my equation down. Don't forget your times sign. So we're putting 0 in for x. And if you use your calculator, you'll get a 0 there. Now, we find our x-intercept. New heading. The boys that do what I ask them to do, if your drawing looks exactly like mine, you'll do well. If you start leaving things out, you'll get very confused. You have to have these headings. Okay, X intercept, take the opposite letter, which is y, and make it equal to 0. Start with your equation. We're putting 0 in for y, so it's going in over here. Right, so let's watch what happens here. So we're getting rid of times 2/3. So we have 0 here at the moment, and then we're going to divide by 2/3. And that will leave an x by itself over there. All right, now, on your calculator, it's probably easier for this one if you just press 0. Now, because we've got two sort of fraction bars here, it's going to be a bit messy. So I'm going to do 0 divided by, and then I'm going to put my fraction of 2/3 in. Okay, 2, down arrow, 3. So now I've got 0 divided by 2/3. I'll press equals, and it's 0. All right, now, watch what happens. I'll start doing my graph like I did before. You might already have guessed what happens, but we'll soon find out anyway. Oops. Okay. Now, if we have a look at what we've found so far, we have a y-intercept of 0. So the y-axis, we have a point 0 at it. Now, the x-intercept also turned out to be an x of 0. So x, go to 0. Look what's happened. You're at the same point. We need 2 points to draw a line. In all the other ones, we had 2 different points. But this one, we don't. Now, if that happens, all you have to do is find one more point, because you've already got that one. Okay, so for our extra point, I'll just write it down the bottom here. I'm going to use x equals 1. Now, I don't have to use x equals 1. You could use x equals 52, x equals minus 17, whatever you like, it doesn't matter. Why did I pick x equals 1? Because it's easy, okay? I can't use x equals 0 because that's already been done, okay? So I picked x equals 0 because it's an easy number and I'm probably not going to make many mistakes with it, okay? Hopefully no mistakes. All right, so we're going to put in y equals 2/3 x. That's our equation. And we're going to put the x value of 1 in there now. Don't forget you've got your times sign to put in. So if we do that, we're going to have y equals 2/3 times 1. Now just go to your calculator and work that out, and it turns out to be y equals 2/3. I'm running out of room here. I'm just going to go over here a bit. Okay, now, if I look at what I've got here, I've got x equals 1, because I picked an easy x. I found out that the y that goes with it is 2/3. So I have a point, if I put it together, 1, 2/3. The x is 1, the y is 2/3, put it together as a point. So now I'm going to plot that point. So let's just say that that's 1. And let's just say that that's 2/3. And watch what I do. A long one, up 2/3. That's the point I just plotted that we found. And now you can join your 2 points. And that's about the hardest one you're going to have to do on these. There's not a lot of practice in the textbook on this work. So I'm just going to give you some different type of homework tonight, just for a little break because we've done a lot of work lately. And then after that, we'll go back to our normal lesson next time and normal homework. Okay, so have fun with your slight break.